You are experiencing the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.
It is March 2nd, 2022, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty, where we're bringing you the people and the organizations fighting for liberty around the country and in your region, and bringing you news from a liberty perspective. Before we jump into any of the stuff today, let me give you a little background on what the show is going to be about. This show is going to be completely about education-related matters. We have a special guest with us, Larry Sand. He's been on the show many times before. He is a former educator, and he now writes pretty much full-time on issues of this. You can find him at a Substack of Larry Sand. So he has a lot of articles up there. And I've been informed he's an all-around wonderful person. So anyway. But I also have with us on our panel Leon the Word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And my name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So we always start out with a Liberty quote of the day. So this one is one I haven't used before, but it is, here we go. This is C.K. Chesterton. He is a British author and journalist. And I think this quote hopefully will get us in sort of the right framework for the episode here. He says, "Without education, we are in a horrible and deadly danger of taking educated people seriously." And I take what he's saying here as a real education versus the sort of phony baloney credentials and education people seem to be handing out nowadays. We can't take those people too seriously. You guys have any thoughts on this quote?
Well, I'll let Gary go first.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it just from what he said, from what you just said, it's true. What passes as education these days is all too often indoctrination. Not in every case. There are still some wonderful teachers out there, but there are many teachers who are just dead set against educating any children anything traditional. Instead, they're out there with every radical fad and movement around, pushing it on kids, and it's disgusting. Especially, and the government is sanctioning this. It's astonishing.
Well, yeah. I think I have to agree with that. You know, the problem that we are seeing in the school today is that there are a lot of people who call themselves teachers, and they are nothing but proponents of propaganda and whatever. And Larry is absolutely right in the sense that every new radical fad is a thing that appears in the classroom, where reading, writing, and arithmetic takes a second place to political agendas. So I have to agree that what is passing as education today, and these people who are touting these degrees, these masters and PhDs, and when you look at the kind of subject areas that these degrees cover, is usually some environmental or gender studies or Asian American studies or some nonsense like that, but nothing of substance. So if we take these people seriously, we end up with the public schools that we now have. Okay, that's really the bottom line. So we're always in danger of taking these sort of people seriously. So in that sense, that quote is germane to the topic today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and we're definitely going to talk about some propaganda that the schools have been pushing on kids and sort of organizing them in strange ways that have nothing to do with the reading, writing, and arithmetic that they're supposed to be there for. But before we start with any of the getting into any of these topics, I did want to set the stage by just showing how are the schools doing, right? I mean, this is right, that the metric that we should all be aware of while we're talking about all of these other things that are going on. And this is a link from one of Larry's articles here, goes to the nation's report card. And we've talked about this before on the score, but we're specifically going to be focusing on California for this show. And this is the Los Angeles Unified. and you can see the metrics of how they are saying that they're doing. And on mathematics, the last time they did one of these in 2024, it says 18% at or above proficient. Right? It's this number right up here.
You got a problem with that, Leah? Jason?
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good to me.
Because I can do math, I do have a problem with this. I think the school can't do math, and that's why they don't have a problem.
Right.
Exactly.
I know.
That's why
we're all laughing at
the crisis, because they can't do math. Look at they're spending more money than they're taking in. Go ahead, Jason, I'm sorry.
There's never enough money for them. Never enough. And when they fail, it's we don't have enough money. Well, class sizes are too small. They're too big.
Yeah. And we'll definitely talk about some of those problems, because we are going to talk about some of these teacher strikes that are going on now in California. I mean, when the system ain't working, it ain't working, and everybody's upset. But anyways, and then reading is only 22%. So, I mean, this is nuts. I mean, and then they have some metric here that they say at or above basic. Well, if basic isn't proficient, what the hell are they measuring?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm hiring for a job, I want somebody who's proficient, not somebody who maybe can read a few words here and there.
Yeah.
Well, that means you're a right-wing racist, Jason. That's what that means.
Exactly.
You get called names.
Yeah. Well, and just so you think that we're not picking on LA Unified, I did take one other school district here in California, and I took the Fresno school district, and my God, they're even worse. 11% at or above proficiency on mathematics, and 13% on reading. So, I mean, this is nuts. I mean, they're just failing across the board, right and left, out here in California. So, but I did want to get the input real quick on one of our prestigious lawmakers on this. So let me pull in this video.
And the math ain't mathin'.
Okay, so even AOC can understand here that there's something wrong. So anyways, I did want to set that baseline for our discussion here. So before we jump into talking about how Linda McMahon is doing and trying to correct some of this stuff, do you guys have any last thoughts on these numbers issues?
What can you say? They're terrible, and teachers are always demanding more money and more this and more that. And they, unlike other professions, you're in another profession. You don't do your job, you're out the door. I'm sorry, but you're not selling enough rubber shoes or whatever. And, so go do something else with your life. But teaching, you can't fire a teacher because the unions protect you. And I've written about this many times. During a lawsuit in 2012, it came out that 2 teachers a year out of 275,000 lose their jobs because they're incompetent. I'll repeat that. 2 out of 275,000 lose their job for incompetence. A few more lose it because they're perverts, but incompetence stay in the classroom, unlike other professions. And we're dealing with children almost, the future. We're dealing with the future of the country.
Yes.
And you can't fire a bad teacher? I mean, this is ridiculous. And this is, of course, a union mandate. Because in California, you have, after 2 years, you have what's called, on the college level, they call it tenure, but on K through 12, they call it permanence. Don't you love that? A permanent position. Yes. And the only way you can leave that position is if you want to go. I mean, you're allowed to quit, but they won't fire you. No.
Yeah. It's funny. We're going to talk about some other issues where there's some video, and one piece I actually cut out of the video that would have been helpful maybe to leave in, I guess, context. But we're going to hear from this union organizer who's talking about how to indoctrinate kids without getting fired, and one of the distinctions he whether you've been there for 3 years or not, as far as what you can wear in the classroom and signaling your indoctrination and some of the things you can say. So apparently there is this mark in the first couple of years when the teacher might actually not be completely indoctrinated themselves. that they could be fired, but man, once they're past a few years there's no hope of getting rid of them.
Yeah, they become a permanent fixture in the system. You know, but one of the graphs that we probably should have gotten for this show is our spending per pupil, which have been rising since the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. But we are getting worse results year in, year out.
Oh, yeah.
And we have these teachers always demanding pay increases, even though they're producing far worse results.
That's how we don't pay teachers. We don't pay good teachers more. We pay teachers by the years on the job. So a teacher's been teaching 8 years gets paid more than a teacher's teaching for 5 years. And the other way to get more money, and I know I've been there, is to take what are called professional development classes, which are the stupidest waste of taxpayer money and time ever. Because, every so many credits you take, you get a boost in the salary scale. It's called a step and column method. By the longer you work and the more of these useless courses you take, the more money you make. Once again, and it can't be repeated enough, quality has no place in that equation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which really shows you, what this is all about. I mean, it's about the teachers' jobs and their pay, not about the output for the students. I mean, but yeah. Well, anyways, let's find out sort of, I guess, if there's any hope of addressing this. The Trump administration's been pushing back on some of this stuff, and one of the bright spots is we've had somebody in the Department of Education now who thinks that the Department of Education is maybe not even necessary. So I have a little video here of Linda McMahon. I'm talking about, she's been in a year. So let's find out a little bit about how she's doing, and then maybe Larry will have some insights.
The Trump administration is transferring key functions from the Department of Education to 6 other federal agencies.
Eliminate the bureaucracy, the extra cost.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon says the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Interior, and Department of Labor will manage billions in education grants to K-12 schools and colleges.
They'll go directly to the states.
McMahon insists the agencies are equipped to handle the change and will be trained by Department of Education employees to ensure a smooth transition. McMahon tells me the long-term goal is to permanently shut down the federal agency.
So what do legislators think of how she's doing?
Pointing to declining reading and writing test scores, Republican Congressman Tim Walberg, chair of the House Education and Workforce Committee, is praising the Trump administration's effort. He writes, quote, "The status quo is broken. As a result, our students have been left in the dust." Not every Republican is thrilled. Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, co-chair of the Bipartisan Disability Caucus, expressed concern. He says the changes, without congressional oversight, could undermine civil rights protections for low-income children or children with disabilities.
And what does Randi Weingarten think?
Why don't they say it? They don't care about kids.
Randi Weingarten is president of the American Federation of Teachers. She says the administration's actions are illegal.
This is kind of civics 101. What Congress creates, Congress is the one that has to pull back.
AFT is among the groups suing and calling for Congress to intervene before it's too late.
Well, the teachers union's not happy, so that's probably a good thing. But how is Linda McMahon doing on school choice?
But in the big, beautiful bill, one of the first things that we saw the first time is that there is grant money that can go, to private schools and to these, the tax deductible organizations that will then give the scholarships to students. There cannot be enough ways to teach our children. We want to make sure that there are public schools, private schools, homeschooling, religious schools. All of these need to serve our population with our students, and parents need to have that choice.
So Randi Weingarten isn't happy, so that's probably a good sign. And Larry, you've written a little bit about what's going on with the school choice movement. And so what do you think? I mean, are these two issues intertwined, how Linda McMahon is doing and how the school choice movement is doing? And just how do you think she's doing overall?
Well, first of all, while the Department of Ed, they're trying to dismantle it, that's nice, but they're not dismantling what they do. They're just moving it. They're kicking the can into different departments. So I don't really see what much good that's doing. I mean, I like McMahon. She says all the right things. Just so you know where I'm coming from when it comes to school choice, I'm an abolitionist. I don't think the government has any job in education. Literacy rates were higher before public schools came into being. And the analogy, hold on one second. Let me get rid of that. The analogy I like to use is when you go shopping for food, you go to the government-run grocery store down the street. God knows, even if they existed, that'd probably be the last place you'd go. You go to the supermarket that has the best food and the freshest food at the best prices, etc. Why can't we do the same for education? That said, we ain't going to get the government out of education. So second best is school choice, and the federal government has a great program, and there are many states that have wonderful programs. I think Florida is a school choice leader in giving parents choices using the taxpayer money, of course, but better than what we have now.
Yeah, it seems like the most important thing is that the government, I certainly feel with you, Larry, that the government, maybe we want it completely out, but definitely out of the delivery of education. I mean, there's no reason. It's like imagining that all of our doctors would have to be government-run doctors.
Really? Oh, that's good. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, same ththing with food. I mean, should we all be eating at a government cafeteria because the government is
God forbid.
Right.
Well, Zoran
forbid.
Do that in New York City, and he think he can do it successfully too. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And by the way, too, Leon, when you mentioned Zoran, I did remember hearing a figure recently in New York. I think they're spending over $30,000 a kid. I'm pretty sure is what I heard.
Yes, that sounds about right. Yes.
Yeah. So this is kind of nuts. I mean, you think about what that means in terms if you had a class of 30. Right? So,
yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. By the way, California is catching up. California now spends over $27,000 per student. Wow. It's been upped a lot. It used to be in the middle of the pack nationally. Now I think we're 8th or 6th, or certainly in the top 10 nationally. So we're catching up to New York in wasting taxpayer money.
The frightening thing about that is that look at the kind of results that we are getting. Look at proficiency rates. Look at proficiency rates. It's horrible.
So it's a good point, Leon. And so you can tell that there's almost an inverse relationship between the amount of money we're spending. It's like the more you spend, the worse the results.
Yes.
I mean, I can't establish cause and effect, but it's an interesting correlation there.
Indeed. Yes.
And it happens in almost everything government does too. I think there's an interesting correlation there as well. The more money you put into government, our government is good at certain things, or at least has been in the past. Like World War II is a good example of good government money at work, but so much of it is just so wasteful. The tax dollars are. There are no words.
The general rule is if the government touches it, it turns to. Well, I cannot say the word because you probably say.
We all know. Yeah. Well, I think on a similar note, Ronald Reagan had a great quote. He said, "The worst or the most damaging or the most horrifying words you can hear is that I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
Exactly.
I love that one.
As a libertarian, I like to think about it this way too. I mean, the main role of the government should be defining and defending property rights. If you're going to have a government, that is the most important thing, which kind of falls into that military issue that you're talking about, Larry, for World War II. But, if you think about defining and defending property rights, that has nothing to do with education. That has nothing to do with healthcare. These are areas that you own yourself. So that's your deal, right? Figure it out. And that doesn't mean other people can't help you voluntarily. Just means you shouldn't be using the government to force everybody to do it. So, as I said before, I mean, before we had the government involvement, our literacy rate was higher. I don't know, what else do you need to know?
Yes, there we go. That answers all our concerns, quite frankly.
Well, one of the things we've kind of been talking about is that the government hasn't been doing a very good job in educating kids, but they have been doing a pretty bang up job in indoctrinating kids. And so, So that's one of the issues I wanted to get into here. And one of the a nice article that I saw linked from one of your articles, Larry, was this article in the Free Press from Abigail Schreier, where they talk about the kindergarten intifada. And it's they have in here a link to a video or where they show them doing this, where they show them talking about how do we strategize, how we're going to indoctrinate your kids without getting fired. And so we have a little bit of video, and I think it's really eye-popping just to see them nakedly talking about this when they think nobody's listening except their friends in the teachers union. So I'm going to play this little video here. Should be about 2.5 minutes, but I think it's well worth it. So here we go.
I do a much longer presentation called How to Be a Teacher and an Organizer and Not Get Fired. I won't do the whole thing obviously today, but
so this is literally a teachers union meeting where they're talking about how to organize and not get fired. So they're literally talking about how to break the rules that they work under.
And so some of the things that we can do as teachers is to organize. We just have to be really intelligent on how we do that. We have to know we're under the microscope. We have to know that Zionists and others are going to try to catch us in any way that they can to get us into trouble. So I help the students to organize. We go to those actions, and a lot of us here that have been to those actions have brought our students. Now, I don't take the students in my personal car. I have members of our organization who are not LAUSD employees. They take those students. And I just happen to be at the same place at the same time with them. It's like if tomorrow I go to church and some of my students are at the church. Oh, wow, hey, how you doing? We just happen to be at the same place at the same time. And look, we just happen to be at a pro-Palestine action, same place, same time. So we just heard this guy demonstrate how he illegally organizes children under his care and sets it up with plausible deniability. If you organize the students, it's at your own risk, but I think it's something that's necessary to have to do. You just have to be really, really careful. In the classroom, if you have pictures and posters, like a lot of the things about having Palestinian flags in our classrooms, that's something that I've had it in my classroom for a long time. But right there on the flag at the bottom of that paper printout is the standard. I teach for history, so World History Standard 10.8. Students analyze the effects of First World War, and part of that is the Middle East, and it is Palestine. So I'm only teaching to the standards. It's only part of the standards. And so those are things that people can get upset, and I have gotten complaints, why do I have a flag of Palestine? I say, hey, it's in the standards. I'm doing my job. It is what it is, just like Che. You know, why do you have him up there? He's a communist. Well, Cuban Missile Crisis, Cuban Revolution is part of the standards. I have to teach about it. What do you want me to do? Not do my job? So again, he's immersing your kids in the symbolism of his political propaganda while setting it up with plausible deniability again. How do we do all this without getting fired? That's the $1 million question, right? And I don't know how in the hell we have not been fired yet, because I know for sure they have tried. But we have to organize. That's the bottom line. If they come after one of us, the district has to know that it will be a bigger headache for them to try to touch one of us than it would be to just leave us alone. That's the dynamic here. They have to know that we're organized and we are going to put up a fight, and they cannot get rid of us. And so when we organize with our students, parents, of course, obviously teachers in the community, that's our safety net. And our parents and our students, they will come to bat for us. They will. They will step up for us because they know we're on the right side of history. So that's one example. And, you know, we also had a similar example here in Natomas just a few years ago, where they had a teacher who was literally, he had Chairman Mao in the classroom, pictures of that. And he was essentially giving kids extra credit to go to these rallies that were for left-wing causes. And it was Project Veritas that blew that out. And that's what this particular article from CBS is saying. So, Larry, what do you think about this? I mean, you had this article on Substack, the National Extremists Association, right? And I think we just saw an example of that. That charming video is a man by the name of Ron Goches, who's an LA school teacher, and I mean, he'll never get fired, and he won't change his ways. So, I mean, the best thing you do is just expose the guy for the clown that he is. And I mean, the unions are, I mean, and he's not if he was an isolated case, it would be like, okay. But he's anything but an isolated case, and many teachers, not all teachers, are involved with these extremist things. And most recently, the immigration situation has brought this to the fore.
And we'll definitely talk a little bit about that probably after we leave public access with some video from some of these ICE protests. We did talk about this on the show a couple of weeks ago as well, me and Leon, with some examples of that. But yeah, Leon, did you have any thoughts on this?
Well, quite frankly, even though I had some awareness of what is going on within public education, I mean, actually seeing this guy that on the video is a teacher somewhere, I guess we're in LA or wherever he is.
Oh, yeah. No.
And this is the kind of mentality that this man is pushing in the classroom, pushing on our children, pushing on our future leaders of this great land of ours. How are parents allowing these things to continue? By voting in the same kind of people who's going to produce these kind of people in our classrooms. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to us as parents and grandparents of these kids who are in the public schools. And people like this man, year in, year out, are surviving because of this tenure and because of you can't fire a school teacher because school teachers are underpaid and they're doing this hard work. But they are not. They are not giving us the reading, writing, and arithmetic that our children are supposed to have. But they could give us all sorts of propaganda about transgenderism, about Chairman Mao, about Che Guevara, and all this other damn nonsense that is not going to help the future of this country.
Yeah, Leon, Buster, yeah, I mean, just to go back to the beginning of what you just said, parents need to wake up.
Yes.
And if you must send your kid to a school, public school, every day when the kid comes home, ask them what they learned, and get specifics. Did the teacher ask you anything that made you feel uncomfortable? Did your teacher talk about anything political, et cetera, et cetera?
Indeed.
Yeah, and so it does come down to parents because nobody's forcing you to send your kid to a public school. It's a decision that you make.
Yes, yes.
And Leon, from what Larry said, that guy was from the United Teachers Los Angeles.
That was a UTLA, United Teachers of Los Angeles meeting that Goches gave that charming delivery to.
Yeah. so yeah, it's odd. They're not going to these meetings to talk about, hey, our kids are only 20% efficient.
yeah. That's not important. That is not important.
Yeah, no.
But by the way, if you're watching us on public access, that's all the time we have there. You can watch the rest of the conversations at knuckleheadofliberty.com. We're going to talk about some of the examples of how this spills out onto the streets. And we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the strikes that are going on as well. So I get back to the show. So let's jump into the, how this is actually spilling out with kids being weaponized, I guess, in a culture war and for politics here. We talked about this in previous, it looks like, Larry, you have an article here called Teachers Are Fomenting Anti-ICE Hysteria. And we can see this sort of spilling out in the schools. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, we talked about it when these things were just starting. And it was it was supposed to be a day of organization, a day of solidarity, which is nuts in and of itself, but it's turned into weeks now of kids just going on, leaving the class to go and protest this stuff. Well, I have a video here that really shows, I think, how this stuff can go wrong. Some of the ones we showed in the past were bad enough. Kids running out into the street and getting hit by cars, just some kids being arrested. Well, this one is just plain nuts, and this one's from Chicago. So it's from Aurora, Chicago. So, and it took place about 13, 14 days ago. So let me video on this one.
Chicago's north side to Aurora, students walked out of schools today to protest against ICE.
Shortly after hundreds of Aurora High School students started their protest here outside of Aurora City Hall, things quickly heated up after an unwelcome guest showed up.
So students are literally leaving class to protest, and somehow on the street there's an unwelcome guest. I wonder who that could be.
The student-led protest outside of Aurora City Hall turned chaotic quick when a man pulled out a Trump flag and allegedly egged students on.
So the unwelcome guest was one counter protester. He pulled out a flag and said, "Make America Great Again," and that is egging them on?
Dozens of students chased the man. He was hit and kicked multiple times with rocks, water bottles, and shoes were thrown at him. After several minutes, volunteers, including an East Aurora High School dad who doesn't support Trump, helped the man escape into Fifth Third Bank.
He didn't listen to move away from them. He didn't listen. They went up to him.
Okay, so these are kids who are supposed to be, I would assume, learning a lesson about free speech and protesting. And what they appear to be learning is that if somebody says something you don't like, you get to get violent with them. No police seem to intervene. And I guess one of the dads who was out there, chaperoning these kids, literally says he had to move away. And if he would have just moved away, then they wouldn't have had to shoo him. I don't know what that means.
For the second time this week, high school students in Aurora are speaking out. They walked out of class Friday, standing in solidarity with communities across the nation being targeted by federal immigration agents.
Wait, so this is the second protest by these kids where they're leaving school in the same week? I wonder how the first one went.
Aurora police say a protest earlier this week escalated when some students ignored officers, walked into the street, and started throwing rocks and water bottles. This video, which police say doesn't capture the full picture, shows officers bringing 2 students to the ground using force. 3 East Aurora students were arrested.
So what happened to that Trump supporter?
Things did eventually calm down out here after that Trump supporter hid in the bank. He did not appear hurt. Mayor Lash, as well as other community members, say they are familiar with him.
They're familiar with him.
I guess being an American citizen is not enough with the rights of free speech.
I don't know if that guy was brave or crazy, but that was an incredible move. I just have to add one thing here, guys. You saw high school students here, but in Oregon, there's a video of kindergarten students going out and protesting. And these are obviously teacher-led or teacher greenlit, call it what you want. And there's a great quote by Erica Sands, who's the director of communications at Defending Education. He said, "There's nothing organic about these events. And despite their claims to the contrary, they're almost never spontaneous expressions of student speech. They are basically field trips without the parent permission slip."
Yes.
That's a perfect quote, I think.
Absolutely.
And we talked about this on the last show that we did on this too, but when you put those kids in school, they are minors, even up to the age of 8 or 17 at least. They are minors. Yeah. And they are not adults, meaning that they don't just get to walk out on their own. You are entrusting them as a custodian for those kids.
Right. Yeah. No, look, when I was a kid and when I was a teacher, if we went on a field trip to, a museum or whatever, we had to get a note from a parent. And if the parent didn't give a note, the kid didn't go. You think all these parents are okaying what's going on? No.
And this is exactly what, when I was growing up, even though I grew up in another country, when you have to leave school, you have to have a note from a parent saying that you could do so. But now we're seeing teachers doing these sort of things here, or they're taking them on these so-called field trips, where they're going to protest. And listen, one of the biggest scandals that is ongoing with all of this is the media's role in this thing. Okay. You look at how that woman, this so-called reporter, characterized an American citizen, I'm assuming he's an American citizen, who showed up at this protest. He was an unwelcome guest. Now, why was he unwelcome? Why? Okay? This is just the problem. The media's role in all of this. Instead of this woman talking about what the teachers are not doing, the teachers are not giving these children any lessons about civics, about law enforcement, about respect for authority. They're talking about ICE like if ICE is some arm of Nazi Germany. These are legitimate law enforcement agents in our land enforcing the law as written on the books. But nobody's telling the students that. even that so-called reporter, that these are people who are enforcing the law. You disagree with the law, and you're free to ask your representative to try and change it and all that kind of stuff. But it is a law on the books. This is what we should be teaching our children. Instead, we are getting this bunch of propaganda. Oh, the Nazis are out there trying to deport all of these people, these poor, wonderful people. That is a lesson they're giving these kids. Propaganda, nothing else. No reading, writing, and arithmetic, just propaganda.
Well, and this is, ultimately one of the best arguments for school choice, right? Because right now we have government schools, and if your kid, if you don't approve of this, it's too bad. I mean, that's what the teachers are doing there, right? They're indoctrinating these kids. One of the protests we showed several weeks ago, I believe it was in North Dakota, I think it was, where essentially a kid drove in front of a crowd of protesting students in front of the school with a Trump sign on the back of his car. And so the kids mobbed the car, and then he tried to drive away, and another kid came running out in front of the car and got hit by the car. Right. And it turned out that the mom of that kid who got hit by the car had no idea that her kid was out in the street protesting. She had not signed off on this. And I mean, this is just nuts. I mean, they're weaponizing these kids to do things they're not really ready for, as they're not we've determined that they're not responsible for a reason at this age, and we're sending them out there to the message. So anyways, so there is a little clip I have of a guy from the Dallas Teachers Association, and he is giving his thoughts on what should be the role of the teacher in this thing. And it's a real short clip, but I'm curious to hear Larry's take on it afterwards. So I'm going to play this clip real quick here.
Dallas Classroom Teachers Association President Lee Bryant says he supports the idea of students participating in their First Amendment right, but agrees that the faculty cannot lead the initiative.
Anything like this should be absolutely student-led. Teachers should stand back, be professional, but don't stand in the doorway. You should leave your politics at the door, but you should also encourage your students to think critically.
So he seems to be saying that, hey, teachers, don't have any role in keeping these kids in the classroom. What's your thoughts on that, Larry?
Well, of course, the teacher's got to keep the kid. The kid walks out of a classroom, you immediately send a note to the principal. I mean, that's what I used to do. When the kids walk out en masse, you probably need to call the police. You don't want kids walking out of school. Parents aren't happy with this. Parents send their kids to school to get an education. And if they're not getting an education, the parents, let's come back to parents. And they need to do a better job. Parents need to step up and know what's going on. Obviously, you guys do and I do, but not everybody else does. And we just got to spread the word.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That fool in that video talking about student-led. Okay, it have to be student-led. So you're telling me I dropped I don't have kids. I don't have kids in public schools anymore. You're telling me I dropped my grandson off to a school, and he could just lead a protest, and he could just walk out of school as he damn well please? When I was growing up, if a teacher ever got in contact with my parents and tell them I decided just to walk out of school to protest whatever it is I wanted to protest, my ass would have been in a vice when I got home, okay? They're telling me straight up, okay? All right? But the point is, these people, this so-called, reasonable guy who talking, the teachers should not be involved, it have to be student-led. These people who the law says cannot give informed consent to anything. That's why they're under 18. That's why they can't vote, and they can't they can't inform contracts. These are the people he is now saying it's okay for them to lead protests, to leave school where parents have entrusted the school administrators to take care of their kids during the day. What kind of nonsense, what kind of madness is this? This is not education anymore. It is not.
Right. It's indoctrination. I have nothing else to add. You said it well, Leon.
Thank you.
Well, Leon, another thing you picked up on when we were showing that news clip was that sometimes the news isn't really showing us the I guess a very realistic representation of what's happening. Well, it turned out there was a lot more footage from that last protest we just showed, and it actually changes even the characterization of what we saw. And so I'm going to play that now because I think it's important to understand that we're being gaslit in a lot of these cases. It's not just the teachers union, but the media a lot of times is going hand in hand in characterizing things in such a way that, it can be misleading to a lot of people exactly what's going on. So I'm going to play this clip, and this is what they sort of didn't show on the news, but you'll see it's a little bit alarming, I think. So look at how unbelievably fast this was getting out of hand and how dangerous this could have been.
Get your ass up! They're gonna fuck you up really bad.
So we saw there those kids were pursuing this guy into the street, which could have been dangerous for everybody. So that's crazy enough that it is, but just think about too the way that the news sanitized this, because this is kind of a fake news thing. And remember that dad who they said was just sort of a good Samaritan who was helping out, and he was helping out, but let's see how it was truly characterized here.
Okay, so the motherfucker is gonna get it. Okay. We saved his fucking ass. Okay. Sorry for the language, but
no.
My kids are one of them.
Okay, so your kids are protesting. Tell me what happened.
The motherfucker tried to get a kid. Just fucking died. We didn't listen to move away from him. We didn't listen. They went up to him. We saved his fucking ass. He's still gonna be smiling there. Who cares? Who fucking threw water on me? It don't fucking matter.
But you were.
My fucking kid in there too.
Yeah, you were kind enough though to help
fucking
them.
Save him. Yeah. Okay. If he's still over there fucking laughing at me, no. Motherfuckers like and fuck him up.
Yeah. We're...
And the dad goes on to sum up the politics that were in play and the intolerance from the teen protesters as well.
So what happened? So he...
Donald Trump, that kid was the best. That kid was gonna fucking deport everybody. He's a fucking immigrant too. Just like Donald Trump's a fucking immigrant, he's a fucking immigrant too.
And your kid...
We all fucking immigrants in this fucking country. Nobody's fucking American. Only the Native Americans are from here.
So yeah, it takes on a wildly different characterization that you start to see. I mean, certainly they did say he was attacked in the original thing. So I mean, at least that part's clear. But I mean, even the guy they presented as the hero dad is swearing every other word about the guy that, blaming the guy for free speech. I mean, the best lesson these kids could be learning is John Mills right here. Or John Stuart Mills, the idea that, hey, look, you want to have the exercise of hearing both sides of the argument. So, and instead it's like, this guy needs to get the fuck out, right? Or he's going to get hurt. So, yeah, it's terrible. So, Larry, do you have any thoughts on that? Uh-oh, looks like Larry might have froze.
Okay. Well, the point here is in all of that, in that melee, where were these teachers who supposed to be guiding these students? Where were they? And the media, that reporter, whoever was there, never once asked where were the teachers when they saw their students going after, and I'm supposedly an American citizen. I don't know if he actually was, but he certainly was a Trump supporter. Where were the teachers? And where was the media presentation of what actually happened, not the propaganda that they want to put out there? You see, every single time you see one of these instances, You see, the media is there, and what do they present? They always present some left-wing agenda in their reporting, and they call themselves reporters. They are supposed to be objective. But this is what is going on here. Education is propaganda. We know that. We have already decided that. But now the media is participating in that propaganda, in the pushing of the propaganda. So instead of us having education of our children, we're having propaganda placed upon our children, and then the media is helping to spread the propaganda to parents. And the parents, unfortunately, are now quite complacent. And Jason, you're so right. There's nothing more powerful in terms of the case for school choice than we see now what is going on in our public schools. We need school choice, we need parent choice, whatever you want to call it. We need that, and we need it soon. Otherwise, the next generation or the next 2 generations or the next 5 generations will be lost in this country.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we might have lost Larry. There might have been some technical difficulties there. So, hopefully he'll be able to get back. But we are going to talk a little bit more, too, about the strikes that are going on as well out here in California. Again, they seem to be spending all of their time on figuring out how to organize kids and as protesters, and they don't seem to be doing a lot on their education. But as we can see, let me see here. Bring this. So Larry had an article here on the teachers union is close to striking again in Los Angeles. But what we're finding is they seem to be in the midst of striking all over the state, and it seems to be mostly teacher pay related issues. So that seems to be what's going on. And again, here's an article from Cal Matters, talks about wave of California teacher strikes is no coincidence. Then they have this California Globe thing, talks about the LA Unified School Districts being essentially underwater. At one point, they were to the tune of, they thought around, I believe it was around $800 million. And now I think they think it's sort of under control by being a little over $100 million. So I mean, this is some of the issues. And even here in Sacramento, we're seeing where it looks like Larry may be trying to get back in. We'll pull him up once we see that he's connected. But anyways, here in Sacramento, again, a smaller school district, but it is, underwater $100 million roughly as well. And it's just nuts. I mean, they're talking about having to cut 400 positions. Well, we've got video from a few of these different school districts. And so I wanted to show just a little bit of that so that we can kind of see what the issues are and how they're being characterized. So I'm going to take you to Oakland School District that just avoided a strike, but they seem to have avoided it by just passing the buck a little bit farther into the future. So let me play this video here for you.
Teachers in Oakland avoid a strike. They say they reached a deal with the district after marathon negotiations.
Educators in Oakland are celebrating a last-minute deal with Oakland Unified and a teachers' strike that now won't happen. After months of negotiation, the union and the district reached a tentative agreement around 3 a.m. Friday after an 18-hour bargaining session.
So let's find out what they finally negotiated.
Under the 2-year deal, the highest paid educators would get a 13% raise. All other educators would see an 11% wage increase over the next 2 years. The agreement also includes extra pay to keep credentialed teachers in early education and special education jobs. But this win for teachers comes as Oakland Unified faces a major budget crunch, an estimated $100 million deficit next year. The school board just voted to eliminate about 400 positions to help close that gap.
So it sounds like they're not even sure how they're going to pay for this. Let's hear the opinion of one of the students there, what he thinks about this.
I was sitting out for like a week or two.
This 10th grader remembers how his family handled a week-long Oakland teacher strike back in 2023 and says educators deserve better.
Being a teacher is really hard, and for what they're being paid is crazy. The working day is extremely long, students being students.
Well, that random kid they interviewed, he sounded really sympathetic to the teachers. Let's hear from one of the teachers.
We are necessary workers, and the students need us, the neighborhoods need us, and the community needs us. We need to stand together, and we need to figure out a way for everyone to stay employed and everyone to get paid. Yeah, so we can keep on teaching these awesome kids here. You feel me?
For now, parents and educators are breathing a sigh of relief. Classrooms staying open as the district figures out how to pay for the deal.
Didn't that kid look a little bit familiar there, who was being interviewed? Like, at the very end, it looked like it was the teacher's son. Oh, we got Larry back. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, thank you. I just saw that fun video. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but anyway, I'm back.
Well, Larry, we got into the union thing, but if you had any thoughts on the other, well, let's stick with the union thing. And if you wanted to circle back to the other issue we were showing on the fake news, this is fake news too, by the way.
In fact, I've written about this extensively. I am a former teacher, and the fact that teachers are underpaid is a myth, because what's never taken into account is that they work far less than average workers. They get 2 weeks at Christmas, a week at Easter, 10 weeks over the summer. The average worker doesn't do that. Plus, a teacher's day goes from about 8:30 till about 3. And yes, of course, there's stuff they do after school, planning, etc. But even so, private workers still work a hell of a lot more for less money than teachers do. And plus, you have this nice little perk that no matter how crappy a job you do, you can't get fired.
All right.
So, I mean, it's all BS. I mean, that kid has been brainwashed very well, or maybe his father was a teacher or whatever. I don't know.
Apparently, is a teacher. If you believe the video.
Yeah, well, he brought up his kid well, in quotes. As well.
Well, but the crazy thing about that video is they tried to make it look like it was just a random kid that was being interviewed. And then you see him leaving with the teacher at the end. I guess they were going to a different school because it looked like that kid was a different side a different grade than a sibling. So his kid was the younger brother was at a small lower grade school.
Right. Yes.
So yeah. But
I think the fundamental question that we should be asking here is, why are these teachers why are they striking? I mean, they're looking for higher pay, they're looking for better benefits. Why are they striking?
Well, that's usually it. Higher benefits, more pay, more this, more that. The only thing they want less of is less students in the class. Obviously, a class of 20 is easier to deal with than a class of 40. But I was picturing my bedroom wall of my third grade class a mere 70 years ago. There were 43 kids in the class, one teacher, no aide, one principal, no assistant principal, no guidance counselors, I think 1 or 2 office workers, and everybody learned fine. Doctors came out of my class, writers, lawyers, etc. We all learned. 43 kids in one class. Now, if you have 25, it's too many. So it's always more money in smaller classes.
Yeah.
But the point is, though, they're going to strike, or they're threatening to strike. Are they going to guarantee us better results? I mean, look at the results, Jason, you presented at the beginning of this show. Are they going to guarantee it?
I don't know. Here in Los Angeles, the teachers voted to allow a strike. They're still negotiating. I mean, at the same time, LA is letting go. I don't know if you covered this. I was off the air, and I'm sorry. But LA, Oakland, and I think Sacramento, just to name 3, are bleeding money. And they're laying off positions. They're not laying off teachers, though. They're laying off the useless administrators. Next, they should lay off bad teachers, but that's not going to happen, as we know.
And I can just speak from personal knowledge too, of having a relative that works in one of the school districts. But there's a lot of admin staff too. That's not just top-down administrators, but there's people who do programming for the school, people, other staff that just day-to-day operations of the school. And obviously, they have to cut somewhere because clearly they're way too big, but it's never the teachers.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was teaching, one year we got a load of money, and we had, I don't know what half the people on the campus jobs were. There was a discipline dean, there was an attendance dean, there was an assistant principal for this, and a counselor for that. I mean, it was just, I don't know who these people are. I mean, they're just, there's money there, free money for the user. And that's what happens when the government runs things.
If there's a government pot of money, they are always incentivized to use it up, because if they give it back, they're not likely to get the same allocation next year. That's just the way the government.
The government doesn't earn any money. It's the taxpayer who pays the government. So the government has this free money, and we'll spend your money good. We'll spend it, sure. Yeah.
You always do.
By the way, I did have one other short little video of San Francisco a strike that is imminent, I guess, and there's another reason too that they bring up for one of the demands of the teachers union. I thought this one was very interesting, so let me play this.
The first San Francisco school teachers strike in nearly 50 years ended late last week, but not before the teachers union demanded that parents not homeschool their kids as union members walked the picket line. Once again, their demand called into question the role of teachers and parents in education and the expenditure of taxpayer dollars.
So in San Francisco, one of the crazy demands the union has is no homeschooling.
Certainly for the teachers unions, they don't want any benefit to come to families, and they don't want the students to be learning, because that takes away their power of this strike. A monopoly is only existing because parents do not have other options. If the money followed the child today, the strikes would be ended tomorrow. Unfortunately, parents don't have any other options, and teachers unions are holding children's learning hostage, even as our kids are not proficient in math and reading. They're already behind, and this is not serving kids, it's only serving the adults.
I like what she said there. If the money were tied to the child, these strikes would end tomorrow.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Because if children started going to other schools and you introduced, God forbid, competition, education would look very, very different than it does now, and a whole lot better, I might add.
Yes.
I mean, what has made this country great in many ways is the capitalist system, where the people who make the best products survive, and the people who make the poorest products either have to lower their prices or go out of business. I mean, it is just a fact of capitalist life. Schools are not run that way. No, sir.
Not at all.
No. No.
The question that we should be asking, we see all these teachers, or the teachers unions, I should say, they're always ready to go on strike. They want more salary, more benefits. You always see that. And then, of course, we always have the reporters telling us what a wonderful job these teachers are doing, and they deserve more pay, they deserve more benefits, and on they go. But nobody ever asks a question. Who is striking for the undereducated child? Who is striking for the kid that is not proficient in math? Who is striking for the kid who is not proficient in reading? Who is striking for those bad results that Jason just presented at the beginning of the show? Who is striking for that? But just go on.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to say that. I mean, a parent union would go a long way to that. And it's just like, well, our kids are not learning with Mr. Jones, and we want them out of our school. And you can say, well, we're going to boycott our school until that teacher is gone, and the school loses money because teachers are paid by the kids who show up. It's called ADA, average daily attendance. So, I don't think that'll ever happen, but that would be one way of giving parents more power. Because parents, as I've said, and we all agree, that parents' ultimate power would be to take their kids out of school and homeschool or micro school or private school or whatever. But not nearly enough parents are doing that.
Doing this, I agree. Totally agree, Larry. I totally agree. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we're getting close to the end of the show, and where we usually like to end on something that's a little bit odd or funny. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that's funny about the kids here. But I got to tell you, though, there's one of the weird things that I saw recently was, you would think that of all the things you'd want to protect kids from would be some of these issues of gender confusion and pornography. You would think most people would think kids aren't really, prepared for that at a young age. Well, according to this Minnesota, this Minnesota lawmaker, I guess, she thinks that it would be bad to block porn from kids because, well, let's hear it in her own words, I guess.
And the AGs in many states are very clear about that. They're almost jubilant about being able to use these laws to ban young people from accessing content that could be educational if they are queer.
This Democrat Minnesota representative, Leigh Fink, appears to be arguing that porn has educational value for kids if they happen to be queer.
And you are a principal, you have LGBT students in your school, and we also know that they're not receiving sex education for queer kids. We know that prurient interest could be, for many people, the very existence of transgender kids. More and more people are saying there simply are no transgender kids.
So, I mean, the stuff that Democrats who are the friends of the teachers union seem to be concerned about. It's not that, as we showed earlier, that these kids are only at 18% proficiency at mathematics and 22% proficiency at reading. They're concerned that they're not getting enough porn. I mean, what the hell's going on?
I have no words. I'm speechless, which is rare for me. Believe me, I am speechless. I know.
Well, the words are quite simple, you know, Jason and Larry. I think you guys are missing the point. We don't need to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We just need to give them a little bit of porn, and they'll be okay. Can't you tell?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
God help us.
This does go through a larger issue, ties it all the way back to the indoctrination thing we were talking about before too. But I mean, it's here the U.S. Department of Education is pushing back against California for saying, hey, let's hide mental health issues that kids may be showing in school. Let's hide it from kids.
We have a what's called AB 1955 here, which basically says a teacher cannot tell a parent if the kid comes to the teacher and tells the teacher he's a different sex, as a transgender. The teacher not only isn't mandated to tell, they are not allowed to tell. Now, this is going to be a court battle. It'll probably get to the Supreme Court, which will undoubtedly overrule it. But that's how twisted California is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just nuts. I mean, like you said, we showed. I mean, even and Los Angeles is apparently better than Fresno, and Fresno is like around the 10% proficiency level. So I mean, the stuff.
Let's phrase this: Fresno is worse than Los Angeles. Los Angeles is better.
That's right.
I know it's a minor point, but it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's like, which would you rather step in, a turd or or in San Francisco, real choice, a dog turd or a human turd?
Yeah, don't miss the point. Okay, don't miss the point. We don't have to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We just need a little bit of porn. Okay, a little bit of porn will solve all our problems. Don't worry.
Well, I can't think of too much else. Larry, did you have any final thoughts you wanted to share with the audience?
No, I mean, I think we made the point here. We made it well. I mean, there are a million more stories we could tell, but obviously time doesn't permit. And I think hopefully we've given people, especially parents, enough to think about, if they send their kids off to public school, that they could be dealing with a situation that they don't really ultimately want to deal with.
Indeed.
Well, one thing I'd like to say before we leave, if you're watching the show before our next week's show, think about what you can do in your community to move the ball for liberty. I mean, you can see that you've got people working against you in the schools, trying to work against your liberty, organizing your kids against you. I mean, it almost feels like a little Orwellian the way you're.
It is.
Oh, yeah. So Larry, did you want to jump in? Or?
No, I really nothing else to add. If people watch this and they're not shaken, I don't know what else they need to be told. I think we covered a lot of good ground here. And as always, I want to thank you both very much for having me, and please call on me anytime.
Oh, well, thanks so much. Yeah, we definitely enjoy having you. And for you in the audience, until next time, stay tuned and stay free.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.